Welcome, and thank you for taking time to learn more about the U.S. Highway 83 Structural Plate Pipe Replacement Project. This is an ongoing project currently being undertaken by the North Dakota Department of Transportation in cooperation with the City of Minot as well as the consultant Alteg Engineers. My name is Mary Beckler. I am with Alteg Engineers and am serving as the consultant project manager. With me today, I have Nikki Olson, also with Alteg Engineers, who is serving as the environmental lead for this project. Here we have a quick look at what we are planning to cover during today's presentation. We will start with an overview of the project and move into the existing conditions of the structure, as well as some of the proposed structures that are being considered. I will briefly touch on the role hydraulics will play in this project. I will also discuss our work zone traffic control plan and considerations for utilities and right-of-way. Then Nikki is going to walk us through the environmental process and hit a little bit on our field studies and permitting before I summarize the schedule and conclude with an opportunity for you to share feedback and questions. The U.S. Highway 83 Structural Plate Pipe Replacement Project is located here in Minot on U.S. Highway 83, just to the south of the interchange with U.S. Highway 2. The existing pipe is right next to Denny's, kind of across the parking lot from Menards. Currently, there is an 11.5-foot tall structural steel plate pipe that runs under US 83 for about 234 feet to allow a creek to flow under the roadway. The proposed project will replace this existing structural plate pipe with a new structure, which will address deficiencies and maintain system linkage and flow. So why is this project needed? Well, this structure is nearly 50 years old, having been constructed in 1976. Maintenance crews have attended to this structure numerous times over the last 10 years to extend useful life as long as possible. Unfortunately, at the most recent inspection in November of 2022, the culvert was given a condition rating of 3, which is poor condition. This rating, along with an extensive list of significant findings, have led to the decision to replace the entire structure. Just to share some of the highlights of the significant findings, there is over 30 feet of culvert with rust holes and up to 2 feet of undermining in some places of the culvert. The seams of the structural plates and bolt holes are seeping, which is causing thick mineral deposits laden with dissolved iron. There are also multiple locations described as experiencing severe corrosion. But I digress. For the betterment of the traveling public on US 83 and to effectively maintain stream flow, it is critical that this structural plate pipe be replaced. Fortunately, we have some great alternatives for the proposed structure at this location. Since survey, hydraulic studies, and design are in the very early stages, I don't have any specific values to share at this time, but I can tell you we are still very much open to using concrete or steel to replace this structure. The current pipe has certainly served its purpose, and structural steel has come a long way in the last 50 years. So, depending on market availability, concrete and steel have become pretty comparable as far as life cycle costs. Since we are dealing with a high traffic area and desiring to minimize construction time as much as possible, precast concrete becomes slightly more desirable, but current availability and lead time sways toward the benefit of structural steel. As we discuss later on, the construction of this project is currently slated to take place in the summer of 2026, so we will be keeping our finger on the pulse of market availability as we home in on the most cost-effective structure through the process of hydraulic analysis. The hydraulic analysis will be the driving factor in determining the appropriate size for the proposed structure in this location. A model will be created using survey information in combination with calculated values for peak design and stream flows. Several structure sizes and material types will be assessed with this model to pinpoint the most cost-effective structure that still provides adequate hydraulic capacity to maintain stream flow. Our approach to work zone traffic control for this project will be phased construction. This means we will shift traffic to one side of the highway to allow for a portion of the new structure to be placed, and flip-flop those activities to finish installation of the new structure. Finally, the corridor will be restored to existing conditions. We anticipate impacts to existing signals, lighting, and the raised median during this process. As the cross-sections show, we also anticipate using concrete barriers to prevent traffic from entering the work area, as well as temporary shoring walls to facilitate construction of the new structure. Potential work zone traffic control layouts are shown on the screen. We hope to use this layout to maximize efficiency during construction. As shown in these details, Phase 1 shifts traffic to the west as work is being done on the east, and Phase 2 flip-flops the activities so that traffic is shifted to the east as work is being done on the west. Both phases allow for one lane of traffic in each direction, with comparable access to the exit and entrance ramps of US 2 as existing conditions provide. Both of these potential phases utilize what is called a continuous green T intersection design so that the northbound US 83 lane will not need to stop at the ramps. This will be particularly helpful to reduce backups into the intersection that is about 300 feet south of this location. Any traffic headed north as they exit US 2 will still be controlled by a temporary signal, as will the southbound traffic on US 83. As we get further into the design process, traffic control plans will be assessed and an optimal layout will be finalized. There are multiple utilities within this portion of the US 83 corridor that will be affected by this project. A majority of the existing utilities are underground. No permanent utility impacts are anticipated, but utilities may be temporarily impacted due to the excavation necessary for installation of the new structure. The temporary impacts of these utilities will be communicated and countermeasures will be coordinated with the appropriate entities during the design process and throughout construction. Since a majority of the work being done for this project is under the current roadway and we are able to maintain traffic mostly within existing pavement sections, we do not anticipate acquisition of right-of-way to be necessary on this project. As we continue the design process, impacts of the replacement will be evaluated further, and if necessary, we will pursue a temporary easement for constructability purposes. With that, I'll hand it off to Nikki for some environmental information.
Thank you, Mary. I will now discuss the environmental process, field studies, and permitting on the project. We are currently in the environmental process. Since the project is on a U.S. highway, the project must be developed in compliance with the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. NEPA is a federal overarching procedural law that prescribes a number of required elements, including the development of purpose and need, public and agency involvement, and the analysis of alternatives. We want to hear the public's thoughts, comments, and suggestions to help us in developing the project as part of this process. An environmental document called the Documented Categorical Exclusion will be prepared. This document will analyze any anticipated environmental impacts as a result of the project. To keep going on the topic of environmental compliance, several field studies will be conducted to determine baseline conditions within the study area that will then be used to assess and quantify impacts from the project. These include an aquatic resource delineation and a topographic survey. These surveys will be completed within the next month. A floodplain and wetlands are present within the study area. Permits for impacts to these resources are required. The permits include a floodplain permit acquired from the floodplain administrator and a Section 404 permit from the United States Army Corps of Engineers, or USACE, for wetland impacts. I will hand it back over to Mary to discuss the schedule.
Thank you, Nikki. Finally, let's take a look at the project schedule. We are currently conducting our public input meeting in the spring of 2023. This public input meeting will be followed by a 15-day comment period running from May 30th through June 14th. Following the close of that comment period, the team will work to complete the environmental document. As we move into the summer months, our survey and field study crews will complete their work and allow for preliminary design to begin. The results of this preliminary design will be used to finalize the environmental document in the fall of 2023. Our teams will then continue to work toward plan completion as soon as possible, but no later than the spring of 2025. Completing these plans in a timely manner will allow for competitive bidding among contractors and the ability to secure construction materials well in advance of the scheduled construction of this project in the summer of 2026. This schedule is subject to change, and any changes will be communicated to all stakeholders as soon as possible. Please take a moment to fill out the Title VI Participation Survey. Copies of the survey can be found by the sign-in sheet. Before we close, I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to our presentation today and engage on this project. As I just mentioned, we will be accepting public comments on the project until June 14th. I highly encourage anyone with comments, questions, or concerns to please reach out and provide those comments. Those comments can be provided via hard mail or email. Emails can be sent to Nikki at minotstructurereplacement@alteg.com. If you do submit comments via email, if you could please include public input meeting -PCN 22048 in the subject heading, that would be very much appreciated. That concludes our presentation today, and thank you again for participating.